The moment I found the note, my world flipped upside down. Scrawled in Jake's sloppy handwriting on the back of a crumpled water bill, the words hit me like a punch to the gut. I'm done with you and your dull life. I'm taking everything. Oh, and the house is sold, enjoy the scraps. My hands shook as I stood in my kitchen, the weight of his betrayal sinking in. Shock, rage, pain. But then something unexpected bubbled up, a fierce, steady calm. I grabbed my phone, tapped out a reply, saw your note. Thanks for the heads up. And just like that, I decided this wasn't going to break me. My name's Emily Carter. At 36, I never thought I'd be staring down the end of a 12-year marriage, abandoned by a man I once trusted. I'm an entrepreneur. The brains behind a thriving online jewelry business I built from scratch, something Jake always sneered at, calling it my cute little side gig. Looking back, the red flags were blazing. Late nights at the office. Whispered phone calls he'd cut short when I walked in. The way he'd slam his laptop shut like I was some nosy stranger. I should have seen it coming. But here's the kicker. Jake had no idea I wasn't the pushover he thought I was. 6 months ago, I caught a glitch while paying bills, big chunks of cash vanishing from our joint account into some mystery fund. When I asked Jake about it, he waved me off with a smug, just business investments, Em. Don't worry your pretty head. That's when the alarm bells went off. I didn't confront him again. Instead, I got smart. I started tracking everything, the shady expenses, the working late, excuses when his office was pitch black as I drove by, the lies piling up. I opened a secret bank account and siphoned my personal savings there, bit by bit. I called up my best friend Lisa, a killer divorce attorney, and got the lowdown on my rights. And during our recent home reno, I pulled a move Jake never saw coming. I refinanced the house in my name only. He was too busy playing big shot investor to notice. Now standing in my kitchen, reading his pathetic attempt at a mic drop, I felt a smirk creep onto my face. Jake thought this note would crush me, leave me sobbing and begging him to stay. He'd always underestimated me, treated me like some clueless trophy wife dabbling in beads. He was dead wrong. I took a deep breath, smoothed my shirt, and fired up my laptop. Game on, Jake. He wanted to play dirty? I'd been warming up for this fight longer than he knew. The cracks in Jake's facade started small. Last Christmas, he handed me a shiny silver bracelet, fancy looking. But I knew in 10 seconds it was a cheap fake. I'd been crafting fine jewelry for years. I could spot a knockoff a mile away. When I called him out, he flipped the script, accusing me of being shallow and ungrateful. Classic Jake, twisting everything so I'd second-guess myself. Our marriage wasn't always a war zone. Back in the day, he'd cheered me on, helped me launch my first online store, popped champagne when I landed my first big sale. But as my business took off, he changed. Maybe it was envy. Maybe his ego couldn't handle it. He started tossing out snarky digs about my little Etsy thing at dinner parties, acting like I was playing pretend while he slaved away at his accounting firm. I'll never forget the day I scored a deal with a major department store chain. Huge win, right? Jake barely glanced up from his phone. That's nice, babe, he mumbled. Like I just baked a decent cake. That night, I cried not from heartbreak, but from fury. Fury at him for dismissing my biggest triumph. Fury at myself for letting him shrink me down. The real wake-up call hit 3 months back. Over coffee, my sister, Rachel, who works at Jake's bank, dropped a bomb. I've seen some weird stuff, big withdrawals, shady transfers. I think he's up to something. Protect yourself. That lit a fire under me. I started digging. The way Jake insisted on controlling our finances, despite my business chops. Those vague weekend work trips he couldn't explain. The hushed calls that stopped the second I walked in. Every clue was a puzzle piece I'd ignored too long. I spilled it all to Lisa over lunch. She gave me a no-nonsense look. Emily, you're sharp, successful, and tougher than you think. Stop playing his game. Start playing chess. So I did. While Jake thought I was fussing with my hobby, I was cataloging every sketchy move he made, every unexplained dime, every late night, every lie. I kept up the act, the doting wife, while quietly gearing up for the storm. The day after his note, my real estate agent, Tom, emailed me, urgent, house sale docs needed. My heart skipped, but not from fear. Jake had tried to list the house, my house, but hit a wall. He couldn't sell without my signature, thanks to that refinancing he'd been too lazy to double-check. I could still see him that day, brushing off the bank meeting with a "you handle it, M." He'd signed a power of attorney without a glance, assuming I'd just nod along like always. His sloppiness was his undoing. I called Tom right away. "There's a mix-up," I said coolly. "I'm not selling." He stammered about Jake's pushiness, how he'd assumed it was a done deal. Then my phone pinged, a text from Jake. "Called the agent. Sign the papers when they come. 24 hours to pack." His arrogance fueled me. I rang Lisa. "It's go time," I said. She didn't miss a beat. "We've been prepping for this." "Don't reply to him," Lisa warned. "Let him think he's winning. We'll drop the hammer with everything: house deed, bank records, the works." Her certainty steadied me. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about reclaiming my spine after years of his quiet control. Next morning, Jake's texts rolled in, angrier each time. "Why isn't the house listed? Tom says there's a paperwork snag. Quit screwing around and sign." I ignored them, working on jewelry orders, when the doorbell rang. There he was, red-faced and fuming, shoving past me into the foyer. "What the hell did you do?" "Tom says I can't sell without you, but that's bullshit. I run our finances." I crossed my arms. "Like you ran my business accounts? The ones you've been draining?" His smug mask slipped for a second. "What are you talking about? I made investments for us. You wouldn't get it, messing with your trinkets all day." I walked to my desk, pulled out a fat folder, and started laying it out. "Oh, I get it, Jake. I get how you've been skimming our joint accounts. How you tried to sell a house that's legally mine. How you thought I'd just roll over." His jaw dropped. "The house is in your name? How remember the Reno refinancing you couldn't be bothered to show up for? You signed it over without reading. It's mine. Just like my business, the one worth more than your paycheck." He flopped onto the couch, deflating. "You can't do this. I had plans, big plans. Plans that needed my money and my house." I cut in. "Here's the new plan. You leave. My lawyer's filing for divorce. And those transfers? We're digging into them." He tried to rally, adjusting his tie. "You're bluffing. You don't have the guts or the smarts to take me on." I grabbed another folder. "These bank statements say otherwise. So do your emails I found on our iPad. And the PI report on your Vegas business trips." His face went white. "You hired a PI? "No, Lisa did. You know, my coffee buddy you ignored? Best divorce lawyer around." He paced, muttering. "This wasn't supposed to happen. You were supposed to fall apart. That was your mistake," I shot back. "You never saw me coming." The doorbell rang, Lisa right on cue, briefcase in hand. Jake's panic set in as reality hit. Please, we can talk. Like you talked about selling my house? Draining our savings." Lisa stepped in, cool as ice. "Mr. Carter, get a lawyer. We've got evidence of financial misconduct. The courts don't mess around." Jake's phone rang, his bank. I watched him unravel as they told him the accounts were frozen. He sank onto the porch steps, tears streaking his face. Not regret, just rage at losing. As he drove off, Lisa grinned. "You nailed it, Em. In the months since, I've rebuilt hard. My jewelry business, the one Jake mocked, exploded. Orders flooded in and I expanded, hiring staff, landing big retail deals. The house he tried to steal, it's mine, redecorated my way. Deep teal walls he'd have hated. His old office now my studio. Rachel helped me purge his junk, laughing about how he trashed my hobby at family dinners. Now you're in magazines and he's in a shitty apartment," she said. She's right, his investments were Vegas gambling debts exposed in court. The judge wasn't impressed. Friends stepped up big time. Lisa, beyond lawyering, became my anchor. "You're not just surviving, you're killing it," she said over wine one night. She's spot on. I'm bolder, truer to myself than ever. At a business gala 6 months post-note, I strutted in wearing a dress Jake would have hated in my own jewelry. Old mutual friends whispered about the divorce, but one Karen pulled me aside. "Your story made me rethink my own marriage," she confessed. "I'm done being the dumb wife too." That night I met Ryan, a widower who crafts wooden jewelry boxes. We geeked out over artistry. No condescension, just respect. It's not love yet, but it's a spark of something real. Jake's tried crawling back, whining after the court ordered him to repay what he stole. His last email apologized not for the betrayal, but for not seeing what we had. I didn't reply. That door's bolted shut. My business keeps soaring, international shipping, workshops packed with women finding their fire, just like I did. My house. Once his target, hosts entrepreneur meetups now, buzzing with dreams instead of his snide jabs. That note wasn't my end, it was my launch. Every late night poring over records, every tear, built this. A life that's mine, vibrant and fearless. Yesterday, a workshop student asked if I regret Jake. I flashed the ring I made post-divorce, engraved with "Trust Your Fire." That's my answer. We're stronger than we know. Sometimes it just takes a jerk's goodbye to ignite us.